Hello, everybody, and welcome to the MoneyMax presentation. My name is Dr. Joan Haakonstad, and I'm going to be your presenter tonight. Just a little bit about myself. Well, I'm a field partner with United Financial Freedom. I'm one of the many leaders on Take Action Partners. We're a team of United Financial Freedom, and I want to thank you for joining us today. I have to tell you, what you're going to hear tonight is absolutely life-changing. We're going to be talking about a solution to a problem that has caused people's health to decline, created marital crises, emotional distress, and a variety of other traumatic events in people's lives. That problem is a four-letter word called debt. First, I want to start with a study that Social Security Administration did several years ago. And they followed about 100 people over 40 years of work. And what they found is for every 100 people after 40 years of work, 54 people will be broke. This is after they've worked day after day for 40 years in totality. 54 of those people will be broke. They're dependent on Social Security, relatives, friends, charity. 36, unfortunately, will die. They will pass away before the end of that 40 years of work. 5 will need to continue to work. 4 will be deemed financially secure. And only one out of every 100 people will be wealthy. What does that tell us? Well, the sobering reality is for every 100 people, after 40 years of working hard and working their knuckles to the bone, only 5% will financially succeed. 95% of people will end up dead or dead broke. What a sobering reality. What a horrible thing that debt is providing for us, is doing to us. And the reality is we have this American way of life. And what it comes down to is we have little or no financial education in school. I remember vividly being in school, in fact, in being in high school, and being taught how to write a check. And I remember being so excited. In fact, I came home and I'm like, Mom, give me your checkbook. I want to go buy something. And she's like, Joni, that's not quite how this works. You realize that when you write a check, you actually have to have money in the account to pay for what you just wrote. Like, what? Huh? What do you mean? What's an account? Why do I have to have money in there? No. It's a piece of paper. I just have to write this out and I'm good. I had absolutely no education whatsoever about what finances meant. They taught me how to write that check, but never what it truly meant, never to have money in the account to make sure that check was covered. There's very little to no education in our schools today. And that's just scary because it is truly the foundation of every single household. No wonder finances are the #1 cause of divorce. Finances are the #1 cause of stress. And this stress often leads to physiological changes and issues in our body. Did you know that our finances can actually physically harm us? So why don't we teach about it? The sad reality is because there is no educational foundation in our schools, debt is at an all-time high. In fact, our national debt and our consumer debt is at an all-time high. Our national debt is over $28 trillion. Our consumer debt is over $14 trillion. So what's consumer debt? That's our mortgages, credit cards, auto loans, student loans, lines of credit, medical bills, IRS debt. Those are consumers' debt, and it is at an all-time high. Part of that is because we've taught ourselves that our American way of life, we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't know. And all of that results in debt, that four-letter word. Now, if you're watching this webinar and you're like most people, you probably want to get out of debt. Well, you're not alone. The vast majority of Americans are drowning in debt, and yet they don't do anything about it because they don't know where to start. You? Well, you're here. You're doing something about it, so congratulations. Debt is big business, and I mean big business. The less we know about how to manage debt, the more profit big institutions are going to make off of us. To them, we are walking, talking dollar signs. That's truly what we are. Now, it's going to sound like I'm bashing financial institutions. I'm not. We actually need them, and they serve a very important, vital role in our society. But I just don't like being a walking, talking dollar sign to them. I think we pay them enough. The reality is, although debt helps us to pay for things when we want things and we don't have the money to buy it, debt costs us our future if we don't understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, or if we don't know how to pay off that debt. So if it seems like no matter what you do, you can't make any real progress on your debt, well, it's kind of because it was set up that way. It was done on purpose. If you think about it, even our marketing has adjusted to accommodate us being in debt. They no longer advertise how much something is actually going to cost. Rather, they talk about how much money is the minimum monthly payment. And of course, they're anticipating you're going to only make that minimum monthly payment, and they're going to make even more money off of you. Now, when I graduated college, this is going to sound silly, but when I graduated college with my bachelor's degree, I felt like I was overwhelmed and absolutely drowning in debt. Now, again, this is going to sound silly, but I had a whole whopping $10,000 in credit card debt, and I just felt like I was swimming in it. And so I did some research, and I started looking at and talking to a ton of people of how do I get out of debt? How do I pay this down? What I consistently heard is, hey, consolidate for a lower monthly payment. Okay, so I get all my credit cards and I put it onto one loan, just consolidate and start this whole thing all over again? Other people said, hey, no. You can go ahead and do that, but why don't you refinance all that debt? Refinance it and get a lower interest rate. Well, those two are great ideas in concept and theory. However, neither one of them actually help us pay off that debt quicker. If I'm consolidating a debt for a lower monthly payment, I'm actually starting that clock all over again. And we're going to talk about an amortization schedule in a minute. You'll see what I'm talking about. If I refinance to get a lower interest rate, again, fantastic, but I am also starting that amortization schedule all over again. But I'm probably also going to continue making that minimum monthly payment. So it didn't help me get out of debt faster. It just helped me allegedly pay less in interest. Truly, I say allegedly because it depends on where I'm at in the amortization schedule. The other thing was, hey, what if you did a biweekly payment plan? Now, I didn't really understand what that meant, so I didn't do that on my credit card debt. I did do that later on a mortgage because I once again had a little bit of misunderstanding of what it meant. A biweekly payment plan means that you take your monthly payment, you cut it in half, and you send half of it every 2 weeks. So at the end of the year, you actually end up sending one full payment extra. And to me, I thought at the time that that meant my mortgage term would be cut in half. I was greatly misunderstood and greatly wrong on that one. In fact, a biweekly payment plan cannot mathematically take that 30-year mortgage and pay it off in half the time. It's mathematically an impossibility. It does, however, on average, pay off that 30-year mortgage 6 years faster. So it's saving me 6 years of payments and getting it paid off so I have about 24 years of payments that I'm actually doing. So again, it works. And I did that. It worked for me. I didn't get the mortgage paid off, but I was accelerating the pay down of that debt. Now, my research also found some financial gurus. One of them said, hey, reduce that standard of living. Stop enjoying your life. Don't do any extra. You work hard, tough. You're going to have to save every single penny, and every single penny that you have, you're going to send it over to your debts. In fact, one of the financial gurus said, target the debt with the lowest balance. Now, a different financial guru said, no, that's just plain silly. Don't go after the debt with the lowest balance. Target the debt with the highest interest rate. That's what's going to help you get ahead faster. So then I always wondered, well, gosh, how come I have two nationally renowned financial gurus giving me completely different approaches to paying down my debt? Which one works? Which one's a better situation for my unique financial situation? The reality is all of them are providing a one-size-fits-all approach to paying down our debt. And I'm grateful they're doing that because they have a lot of people that are listening to them, and that means that people want to get out of debt. However, mathematically, neither approach is actually the best nor fastest way to typically get out of debt. It's a lot more than just looking at an interest rate. It's a lot more than just looking at a balance. There's a mathematical equation that exists that will guide each person on the fastest way to pay off their debt. And I say all that to say, welcome to the MoneyMax account system. That's what it's about. There's no refinancing. There's no change to your standard of living. You can continue with your current budget and your current spending habits. It's not a biweekly payment program. It's not a debt roll down system, nor is it a concept nor a theory. So what is it? It is a web-based financial GPS. If you've ever used a GPS in your car to get where you want to go, it's like having that, but for your finances. In your GPS, you input the address where you want to go, and it gives you turn-by-turn directions on how to get there. Miss your turn? Hit road construction? No problem. Your GPS recalculates. Imagine that type of technology, but for your finances. That's what our system provides. It looks at your income, it looks at your expenses, it looks at your debt, and more importantly, it looks at all of the variables associated with the debt so that it can find mathematically the fastest way for you to pay off your debt given your unique financial situation. As your situation changes, simply tell it. It will instantaneously recalculate to find the next fastest way to reach your destination, all along while providing you a roadmap to pay down that debt. It's an individual plan for your situation. It's for your current and your future debt. Because quite frankly, the debt we have today may not be the same debts that we have tomorrow. So as our goals in our life adjust, our system adjusts with us. And so far, this system has helped pay down over $2.2 billion in principal so far. It's not magic. It's simply math. So let's talk a little bit about some of the math and some of the concepts behind it. And that means that we need to talk about an amortization schedule. So a lot of people are gonna start blocking out their screen. They don't really want to see it, but we need to learn about these things. Education is critical. So let's look at this. We're going to concentrate just on one debt right now. This is a mortgage, $300,000 balance at a 4% interest rate. That means the payment each month is $1,432.25 over a 30-year period of 360 months. Now, I'm going to probably not talk about the 25 cents. I'm just going to talk about $1,432 payment, but I have not forgotten about the 25 cents. It's still there. I just may not mention it all the time. It is still in the calculations. So this is what the annual amortization schedule looks for the first 15 years of that mortgage. In the first year alone, you can see right here, we've paid $17,187. Of that payment, $11,903 went to interest. Now, if you remember, our stated interest rate is 4%, but the actual interest that we've paid, 69% of our payment went to interest. Well, year 5, guess what? We aren't that much further ahead. Yes, we've gotten further ahead in terms of how much of our payment went to interest. It's about $1,000 less, but that's still 63.94% of our payment that has gone towards interest. What happened to that 4% interest rate? Don't worry, year 10, we're at 55.97. Year 15, we're halfway through, and we still have 46.24% of our payment going to interest. That is pure profit to the bank. Remember when I said we were walking, talking dollar signs? We absolutely are. The good news, we've created a better way. So let's look a little bit closer at that amortization schedule. So once again, that payment is $1,432.25. Month number 1 of that payment, $1,000 went to interest and only $432 went to principal. That's 70% of the payment that went to interest. Month number 2, don't worry, we're $2 ahead of the equation. Woot woot! Now we have $434 going to principal and only $998 going to interest. Yay, we're on a roll. Year 1, we have paid $17,187. Remember, only $5,283 of that went to principal. Year 5, we paid $85,000, $85,935, and guess what? Only $28,000 of it went to principal. $57,277 went to interest. And what do most people do in year 5? Most people refinance or buy a new house. They start this cycle all over again. Do you remember when I was talking about if you consolidate or if you refi, even for a lowest interest rate, you're starting this whole cycle all over again? That's what you're starting all over again. That $57,000 you just flushed down the toilet. Year 10, $171,000 paid, only $63,000 went to principal. Ever wonder how far and how long in the amortization schedule you have to pay before you get halfway? What's your halfway point? In this situation, with a $300,000 mortgage, 4% interest rate over a 30-year term, you are not at your halfway mark until year 19 and 3 months, at which point you have paid $330,000 to that financing company, and you've now paid down $150,000 of principal. Or I should say, $150,000 of your payment has now been applied to that principal. That's your halfway mark in this situation. So at the total point of paying off that mortgage in 30 years, you've now paid $515,000. That's a 72% interest rate. 72% of your payments went to interest. Isn't that crazy? If that doesn't make you upset and get mad at a bank, I don't know what will. So how can we turn this around? Well, let's talk about a concept of interest cancellation. So once again, $300,000 mortgage, 4% interest over 30 years. Well, let's say you haven't started the mortgage payment yet. You remember, we have a portion of the payment that goes to interest and a portion of it that goes to principal. What if we took the first 6 months of principal, totaled it up, and sent a check over to that financing company, over to that bank? So we added all 6 months of this principal balance, $2,615. We sent a check over to the bank for that $2,615. What happens? Well, that cancels out all the interest that was associated with it. So that one-time payment of $2,615 just saved us $5,979 in interest. Now, I bet a lot of people are wondering, well, hold on a second. Where do I come up with that money? Well, it's not going to be made out of thin air. No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But our program is about making sure your cash flow is working effectively and efficiently. Our program is all about ensuring every single penny, nickel, dollar, quarter, dime, whatever, is either earning interest or canceling interest, so that you can ensure that you're making your money work in the most effective and efficient manner possible. In order to use our system, there are really 4 requirements. You have to have debt, need to have a checking and savings account, and you need our system, the MoneyMax account system. Now, I'd also say you also need to have internet connection, because our system is a web-based application that you will access online with your own username and password. Now, there's an optional thing that you can do, and that is a home equity line of credit, a personal line of credit, a business line of credit. These open-end lines of credit can also work with our system, and quite frankly, they give you access to extra capital just in case. It's a good emergency fund to have available to you. But you do not have to have that in order to use our system. In fact, 70% of our clients simply use checking and savings. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the money saving strategies behind our system. There are a number that our system uses. We're going to talk about 4 of them today, and 4 of them are interest accumulation, interest float. We're going to talk again about that interest cancellation that we just talked about, and strategic debt payoff. So in order to talk about what these concepts are, we're going to look at one example. This is actually based on a real couple that used our system and started on it back in 2004. We call them John and Rebecca Jones. Obviously, that's not truly their name, but it is an actual couple. They had $5,000 of income. They had $4,800 of expenses. That means they had roughly $200 left over each month. Sometimes it was more, sometimes it was less. Now, in their situation, they had a $200,000 mortgage. They had a 6% interest rate. Their payment each month was $1,199.10. Now, once again, I'm probably not going to talk about that 10 cents, just going to keep it a little bit easy and just talk about $1,199. And that was over 30 years. Now, in order to use our system, we're also going to talk about credit card float. You do not have to practice this part of the system. However, let me give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. If you have a zero balance on a credit card, you put your monthly expenses onto that credit card and then you pay it off in full. How much interest do you pay? Well, if you pay it off in full before the due date, you've paid zero interest. You've essentially borrowed money for 30 days and paid no interest. Spoiler alert. So this couple used that, and I'm going to show an example of how those concepts work together. Again, practicing credit card float is an option. You do not have to do that. If you will change your spending habits by using credit card float, please do not do that. We will make your situation worse. That is not what we want to do. If you can maintain your current spending habits by practicing credit card float and you have a credit card that has a zero balance, go for it. It's amazing. All right. So again, we're just going to talk about tackling one debt right now. So let's look at month number one. Month number one, that $5,000 of income comes into the checking account. System says, you know what, let's go ahead and move it from our checking into our savings so that we can start to accrue interest. Remember, interest accumulation. Even if we were only receiving 2% in that savings account, and yes, there are places you can get 2%, believe it or not. Even if we're only getting 2%, we want to take advantage of all the pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars, right? In the meantime, we're going to put all of our monthly expenses onto that credit card. Now, you cannot really do that. You can't put all of your debts onto a credit card. For example, you can't make a mortgage payment on there, but for the sake of illustration, we're going to say that you can. So you've put all of your expenses onto that credit card, all of the $4,800 that you have for that month. That includes your groceries, automobile, house, whatever it may be. Now, again, that did include your mortgage payment. So that means you've made that payment of $1,199.10. Well, $1,000 of it went to interest and a whole whopping $199 went to the principal, bringing it down to $199,801. In the meantime, your money has sat in your savings account and you've earned 2%. At $5,000, that accrued you $8. Again, may not sound like a lot, but we're taking advantage of all the pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars. So that is interest accumulation. Well, that brings us to month number two. Month number two, our paycheck comes in. System says, hey, we need to pay off that credit card. We need to pay it off in full. Again, you start with a zero balance credit card. You put your expenses on it. You pay it off in full before the due date. How much interest did you pay? Nada. You paid nothing in interest. So you just borrowed money at 0% interest for 30 days while accruing money at 2% interest for 30 days. You just created arbitrage. You're on a roll. Now you've got $200 in that check and you've got $5,008 in our savings. The system says now it's time to start doing interest cancellation. It says, let's go ahead and move money from our savings to our checking. In fact, it says a specific amount down to the penny. In this situation, it said move $3,789 from that savings over to this checking. Notice, we now have created a reserve. Our system can help people actually build an emergency fund. That's just one example of how it does so. Now we've got $39.89 in our checking. The system says, hey, let's go ahead and move that balance over to our mortgage. Well, that one-time additional payment of $39.89 just eliminated 16 payments and saved us $18,746 in interest. Was that a good use of money? Was that a good investment? Would you trade $39.89 for $18,000? I would hope so. Now, again, you're thinking probably, well, hold on, I still have to live. Remember, you're still practicing credit card float. So you're still putting all of your expenses onto that credit card, and you're going to once again pay it off in full when the credit card bill comes due. So let's look a little bit closer at what that one-time payment of $39.89 did. Well, before we owed $199,801. After that payment, we only owed $195,812. We've reduced the balance by $39.89. And we had 358 payments remaining. We now only have 342. We've eliminated 16 payments. Now the interest goes down, or we were originally going to pay $231,000 in interest. Now we're only paying $212,000. We've wiped out $18,746 in interest. That one-time application of $39.89 got you a return of $18,746 in savings. And it does these concepts over and over and over again. It's not just a one and done. You continue practicing interest float, interest cancellation, interest accumulation, strategic debt payoff over and over and over again. So for this couple, again, this was a real life couple. Everybody's situation is different. For this couple, they had a starting balance of $200,000. Their balance after 1 year conventionally doing what the banks want them to do, they would have had a balance of $197,000. With our system, they had a balance of $184,000. Now, in order for them to match that number that our system brought to them, they would have to wait 5.5 years doing what the banks tell them to do and what they were traditionally doing. So their balance in 5.5 years was $184. It took them 5.5 years to match that. Repayment time, 30 years versus 10.4. 10.4 years, completely debt-free with that mortgage. Interest paid back, which would you prefer, $231,000 or $70,000? We saved this couple $167,219 in interest, and we saved them just shy of 20 years of payments. And believe it or not, this was a working teacher. Didn't have a lot of money, but she made great choices. Now, what we didn't really talk about was strategic debt payoff. All we talked about was how do you tackle one debt. But the reality is most people don't have just one debt. You might have a mortgage at 6%, student loans at 7%, furniture loan at 7.12%, an auto loan at 7.25%, a credit card at 6.5%. You probably have a lot of debt. And even if you don't, congratulations. But the more debt we have, the more payoff options there are to choose from. Now, which debt do you target? How much do you send? When do you send it? Do you go after the debt with the lowest balance? Do you go after the debt with the highest interest rate? Which is the best choice? Which will save you the most time and money on your debt? You'd have to be able to go in and calculate out that one mathematical equation to figure that out. And even just looking at a credit card, every credit card differs based on how much they're going to apply towards principal. It's absolutely crazy. You have to take that all into consideration. So can you just make additional payments yourself? Of course you can. There's no magic to paying down debt. You have to send extra money. The key is to make sure you're sending the right amount to the right debt at the right time. The wrong decision will cost you time and money. FICO, Fair Isaac Company, reports that the average consumer has 13 active creditors on their credit report. Now, factorial math says with 13 active creditors, there are over 6 billion potential combinations to pay off those debts. What is the likelihood you will choose the right combination every single month? Probably not very good. Hate to be a bearer of bad news. Now, it's no surprise that a powerful program like this has been featured in a variety of nationally distributed magazines, radio shows, television shows. But probably the best national recognition we could possibly have gotten is from Ernst & Young. Ernst & Young came knocking on our door back in 2008. And I have to tell you, they did some incredibly intensive due diligence. If you don't know, Ernst & Young is actually responsible for auditing publicly traded companies and doing what's right for the consumer. In fact, they're in charge of consumer oversight protection. So when they came knocking on our doors, they wanted to investigate and ensure our company is doing what we say we're doing. They wanted to look at our system. Well, we didn't have to open up our doors. We're a privately held company, but we said, sure, come on in, have a good time. Now, they went through our company financials. They sat down with our executive team, and they had their financial planners and accountants scour through our program. And they went through every potential scenario they could think of, trying to discredit and disprove our system. After their extensive due diligence, not only did they find we're a debt-free company, we practice what we preach, Our executive team is incredible. Our customer service is exceptional. They also found that we are, in fact, doing what we say we're doing. And they were so impressed with our system, they actually awarded us the Entrepreneur of the Year Award, Financial Services, Utah Region 2008. This is the same award, similar award given to other companies that you may recognize, such as Apple, Starbucks, eBay, Microsoft, and so many other companies that are nationally recognized. Do you remember I mentioned that this system is very much like having a GPS? So just like that GPS in your car, the MoneyMax account is going to take every single aspect or every single route of your financial situation into account. We simply tell it how much you owe, for how long, what your interest rates look like, the types, is it fixed, is it adjustable, what's your amortization schedule, what's the compound, what are your incomes, how many, how much, how often, is it commission-based, does it vary, no problem. What's coming down the road, the vacations, the holiday spending, the tax returns, and even when those unexpected expenses come up, those medical bills, broken appliances, home repairs, simply tell the system and it will instantaneously recalculate to find the next fastest way to reach your destination. This is a GPS for your finances. Now, just like the GPS in your car guides you to make all the turns, your financial GPS is going to help guide you to pay off all of your debt. Just like that GPS in your car takes away the stress of deciding which route to take when obstacles come up, the MMA takes away the stress when complicated financial decisions come up. GPS helps you stay focused on your road. Our system's going to help you stay focused on your financial plan. Just like that GPS tracks your success as you follow the route, our system tracks your success as you follow the program. Just like that GPS in your vehicle gives you the exact time you're going to run or get to your destination, so does our system. Our analysis will tell you the month and year you're going to be out of debt. Our system tells you the exact date. My debt freedom date, not just for my mortgage, but I get to put doctor in front of my name. That came with $185,000 in student loans. I had a boat loan, an RV loan, a credit card debt. That was my debt structure. Eric and I, my husband and I, actually decided to stop targeting our debt for a little while and start building up our savings account so that we could start buying as much real estate as we possibly could. We ended up buying 28 doors. And our debt freedom date is still May 19th, 2023 from all of our debt. And the fun news, our system, you can update it in as little as 20 minutes per month. It does take a little bit of sweat equity to get it set up, but we have coaches at the corporate office to help you do so. Now, to date, we've helped our clients pay off over 2.2, now not just 2 billion, but $2.2 billion in debt has been eliminated, paid off, gone for our clients using our system to date. But you're wondering, is this going to work for me? Honestly, I hate to say it, but I have no idea. Talk to the United Financial Freedom agent who invited you to this call and ask them to run a free savings report, a free analysis. They'll do a free side-by-side comparison of what you're currently doing versus what the system can do for you. So you can make an educated decision about whether or not our system's a good fit. Then you'll know your financial freedom date as well. That concludes our presentation for the evening. I'm going to leave you with this thought. The only difference between where you are and where you want to be are the steps you have not taken yet. Get out there. Get back in touch with the person that invited you to this meeting. Get your free analysis completed. Find out when your debt freedom date will happen. Remember, take action and have an amazing day. Thank you so much for joining us.